Fresh Start podcast, fresh ideas for business and personal growth. And today, my guest is Angel Rebo from Dallas area, Dallas, Texas, and he is the CEO Confident.
Exactly.
Welcome,
Thank you.
Angel. Welcome. Thanks for being
You bet. Of course. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you everybody who's listening to us today, David.
Well, the CEO Confident influencer, a LinkedIn strategist, international V host. What is a V host?
TV host.
Oh, I'm sorry. I dropped the T. Sorry.
It's okay. It's fine.
Yesterday, I dropped coffee all over my lap while I was recording. So I had to, the show must go on. So I just kept talking.
I agree. That's funny.
You were born near Barcelona, Spain. That's a beautiful place. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So basically, I was born in a city which is 1 hour away from Barcelona. It's still part of that region of Catalonia that probably you're familiar with.
Yes.
I was born in a middle class family. I was really blessed that since very early on, since fourth grade, I started learning both English and French. And at the end of high school, I was able to, I was extremely fluent with both of them. When I chose where I wanted to go for college, I wanted to become a computer engineer. So I had to go to Barcelona with 17 years old. And actually, I have, relatives all over Catalonia, let's say, in different provinces in there. And my life has always been, I would say, it's like I was preparing for something internationally. Because also in college, one of the first things I did in college with 17 years old, it was actually start being the president of an international students association, which allowed me to have 3 different internships throughout my studies for several months in several, countries in Europe. So very early on, I was I was directed in that direction. I was going into that direction of having an international life, an international experience. And my brand, the CEO Confident, I came up with the concept when I left corporate America in 2016, because I started to count my blessings of my life, and I realized that I had worked with more than 1,500 CEOs throughout my career, helping their companies and helping to grow their businesses. And then I said, well, why not using that term? And I looked for it. It wasn't protected, so I took it, and the rest is history. So I helped more than 1,500 CEOs in 33 different countries for the last 20 plus years.
Wow. And yet you look so young.
Thank you. Let me tell you why. Excuse me. The reason why I still look young, besides being extremely passionate and enthusiastic and pretty an upbeat guy, I take a cold shower every single morning. I've been doing that for the last probably 5 years, and time flies. So it's a habit, and apparently everybody who takes care of their skin this way, I think that helps with their skin also. I use really only like natural tested products for my skincare. I don't know, I think that the energy that goes inside of me helps me to keep all my cells young and rejuvenated. I was just telling Dave before the conversation that I used to go to Costa Rica a lot. Unfortunately, I was not able to go to the beach, not one time, although I had visited Costa Rica, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 times. But I'm sure that I will have the opportunity to go like on a different kind of trip, and to go to one of the many rejuvenation centers and experiences that you can have in Costa Rica.
Just a heads up, top secret, I'm working on a project here where I can bring in people like yourself, some CEOs, and have actually a mastermind kind of a special exclusive retreat here in Tamarindo, and they can enjoy all the amenities here in between, whether they want to go horseback riding on the beach, or snorkeling, or deep sea fishing, sailboats, or whatever they want to do in and around having some kind of a really special, unique, exclusive retreat for business owners, entrepreneurs, and people like that.
Excellent.
If you're a praying person, you can be praying about that because that is going to happen.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. That's wonderful news. And obviously, anybody anybody that, tells me that they would like to have an special experience, I will definitely let them know. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that before.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I have these little cogs and wheels in my head that keep on turning and spitting out ideas.
Cool.
And as you know, as entrepreneurs, some fly and
We're the same way.
Some
We're
crash, some fly.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I was hearing a story about the Wright brothers when they invented that first plane in Dayton, Ohio, and they realized we can't fly it in Dayton. We got to bring it down to the beach in North Carolina because number one, there's wind, and number two, if we crash, we can crash into something soft. Looking ahead, thinking ahead, you never know, right?
Exactly.
Let me ask you this, Angel.
Yes.
In your younger days or in your college days, who would you say was what made a big impact on you and was a real influence on your direction? Anybody in particular that really
yeah, I mean, it was definitely my father. My father was a business person. I would go with him all the time, every single weekend, if he allowed me to go with him to the different, plans that he was overlooking. He was the general manager for a group of food companies, and I would always go with him during the summer. I would actually work for him in one of the different plants that they had. I was actually boxing rainbow trouts in one of his fish farms in the north of Spain for so many summers. I studied computer engineering in college, but my first ever assignment, real professional assignment, was with my dad. He hired me to actually build a basic language, right? A basic language inventory program. So I could actually help one of their companies with the inventory, one of the fish farms with the inventory. And actually that software was written, again, coded in basic language, basic programming language,
right, was
there for many, many, many years. And again, keeping the inventory of every single pond and areas in that fish farm was challenging. So that was something. So definitely it was my dad, definitely by far. Yeah.
Oh, that is so awesome. As my friend John Maxwell always says, leadership is influence. And so your dad was a great influence on you and
totally
made a difference. Obviously, here it is years later, and it's carried through till now and affected everything you do, it sounds like. Fair enough to say?
Oh, yeah. Because also he is both my mom and dad still alive in Spain, despite everything that's going on in the world. Right. He actually, he's being in a good mood most of the time, his passion, his enthusiasm. I definitely inherited that from him, like always looking at the positive side of things. It's definitely something, trying to always bring, understanding and connection among different family members and people. That's always been him, always. So, and I think that I definitely, I have a lot, and something that's really interesting. It's funny how, although my mom is a teacher, is a school teacher, my dad really didn't ever have a formal education. And it's funny how he reached, really, high levels of success, like in financial terms or in business terms, but he never spoke any foreign language. But he was visionary enough. Both of them were visionary enough to immediately, as soon as they could, to put me through both English and French, because that was at that side of Spain, we could only learn French in the school, given the proximity to the French border, but also at the same time on a private school to learn English. And that was really uncommon. It was uncommon. I mean, to be honest, when I was going to the private school after school, I was the only one that was going there to learn a second language. Everybody else was there learning English because their school wouldn't give them English, or like reinforcing the English tuition that they were having at the school. So it's really interesting how sometimes there's something already in place, like, I don't know, God or the divine or the universe, and you are surrounded, you're given the parents that put you in that path, even unknowingly, right? Because they never experienced that 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 the fact of speaking different languages as a way to connect with other people from other countries.
Yeah, so that is amazing. Yeah, as you say, I've told people even on the street, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in divine appointments.
Totally.
And like your dad, my dad was a machine shop teacher who he actually was a machinist up in Rochester, New York at Bausch and Lomb, and he loved education, so he finished college in his 30s and 40s and went on to teach at a technical high school because he loved education, and that passed on to me because I love that stuff. And then thinking about his influence, he passed away very young. But all of my family, all the way from my Italian grandparents on down to both my brothers and sister-in-law and everybody, all entrepreneurs, business owners that started their own businesses. So I think that rubbed off a little bit on me, maybe.
I love the divine appointments concept. I really love it. I'm going to use it moving forward. Really like it. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you call it, synchronicities or serendipities. Yeah. But it's definitely, it's things that they're going to happen anyway, sooner or later. They're going to happen anyway. That's
right. Connections. They're connections. Relationships come and grow out of those kinds of things. And here you had connections and relationships with 1,500 CEOs, and I don't know how connected you stay with them now or not, but I'm sure that you had some relationships that were made in that setting. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, I have relationships that I developed at that time, and also when you start your own path, as a professional, as a consultant in my case, I was very respectful with the companies that I had generated the business with, but at the same time, there's something which is, besides, let's say we were talking about foreign languages as a way to connect with others, right?
Right.
But also when you develop certain skills and you like massive action, like the ability to continuously connect with certain people, systematically, then those abilities stay with you. Those skills are with you. So just to give you an example, obviously, I decided when I left corporate America, it was going to be more persistent, more proactive on LinkedIn. I had only a few hundred connections on LinkedIn because you always think that, you're not going to need them. Had I known, I would have obviously pursued those connections much better or more proactively. But still, I was able to create 27,000 connections. Today, I stayed over 28,000 connections, 82% of which are with senior executives in corporations. So to your point, I think that the good thing about our lives is that you develop certain skills and certain ways and abilities to do things. The good thing is that you keep on nurturing, this skill that you were able to create at some point in your life, and you are able to use it consistently in order to develop relationships. Right now, obviously, one of the main challenges, and that's why I have a large team already working with me, is nurturing those relationships I have with the people in my network. That's the most important thing, making sure that these people, we have meaningful conversations with them, and we don't dump, any information on anything that cannot be of interest. I think that right now that everything is moving like virtual and remote, it's more important than ever to be able to just exchange online the minimum amount of information, the only one which really interests whoever you are talking to.
That is exactly right. I'm speaking with Angel Ribo, the CEO confidant, and I've got a lot more questions, so don't go away. And we're not taking a commercial break either, by the way. Just I just like to pronounce your name. I used to be one of my many jobs was the afternoon news anchor, and I get my hand slapped if I pronounce names incorrectly. Quite unlike the newscasters today who don't know who they're talking about sometimes. Crazy. But Angel, thank you. So I wanted to ask you some more questions, obviously. Tell me what the focus of your business is right now these days.
Yes. So I would say it's twofold. Number one, making sure that both corporate CEOs and established entrepreneurs, we help them to bridge the gap globally for expansion and exposure as a way to accelerate the growth of their businesses. That's one thing that we do consistently. So it's basically business development, help them to get clients or maybe to create distribution channels in other countries in the world. That's number one. And the number two is I have been developed. You name it very well. You use the word influence,
Oh, yeah.
influence behind leadership, right? So I read a book a few years ago that changed my life forever. It's from a Canadian author, and her name is Teresa de Grosbois, and it's about influence. And I learned that influence is really a game, and that you have to be able to play that game properly and generously and from the heart. And I think that I have been able to, humbly speaking, been able to do that. And I consider my team and myself a real, influencer on LinkedIn and other social media outlets, because we are very consistent. We are always there with particular content. It's always, positive content, trying to make sure that we are current, that we're talking to the audience that we talk to. So we use our influence, large influence, to help others have more visibility for their products and for their services. So we are actually engaging both with brands and companies in order to put their messages, their services, their products, both B2B and B2C in front of their audiences. Those would be the two main services that we provide today.
It's so much more important today that to have a focused approach rather than just kind of I was talking with a gentleman the other day on my interview that it doesn't matter if you've got 1 million followers if they're either not your customers or your competition. If you have 10 followers that are the right people that are either your customers or your competition, then you are reaching the right group of people you want to reach, regardless of the number that you've built it to. And so that's the whole, that's what I really enjoy about LinkedIn, because I interviewed a guy in Philadelphia that's a LinkedIn expert as well. And he taught me some of these things about my profile and how to show up and how to look. And I changed it around, and I can't believe how effective that has been with the number of people viewing my profile every week, especially now contacting me through the service that you and I use for interviews. Yep. I've got bookings up through July right now.
Congratulations.
It's just me, just plain old Dave. So
good.
So tell me, what is the Board of Evolutionary Business Council? What is that?
Yeah, the position. So basically, the Evolutionary Business Council is a group of around 300 transformational leaders. So they all have transformational businesses. Basically, they are B2B or B2C in the sense that, they offer business services, they offer individual services, and they're all transformational leaders. It means that they really transform either organizations or individuals. They carry those individuals or those organizations through processes that allow them to achieve different levels of performance, of wellness, well-being, etc. So they are, again, people that they have this in common, but also they have large following. So they have large influence levels, all of them. So we combine have, as I said as I try to explain on my bio, we really have different many hundreds of millions of people as outreach, and the main goal of the organization is, as the name says, Evolutionary Business Council. We believe that there's a better way to do business, and we believe that different areas in society need to change, and we want to be the changers. So we want to use our combined influence to do things together. That's what we want to do things together to change this world together in an evolutionary way, not revolutionary, but evolutionary way. And it happened to be at the board of that organization. I've been there for a couple of years, and that's what it means. So basically, I'm blessed with being at that level to help the organization as much as I can.
That is very awesome. I like that concept of evolutionary rather than revolutionary. However, I happen to be a revolutionary. I didn't march against the Vietnam War or anything like that, but I started my own revolution. I call it the encouragement revolution.
That's cool.
I think that the book that I wrote was all about the power of encouragement and how we can actually learn concepts of how to encourage people with whatever their level in life is, and just put a spark of hope, put a smile on their face, just simple things that we can all do every day if we're paying attention. And that's the key, is that to be attentive. So that's my revolution. You got your evolution, I got my revolution, and it's all good.
Absolutely, it is all good, and you just tapped onto something which is really important. If you realize there's so many things that are distracting us today, and it looks like the system wants to distract us, and they want to pull us in so many directions, so we cannot focus really on anything. And I remember watching this movie. It's called like The Social Dilemma.
Yes, yes.
Okay, if you probably watched it or seen it, it's funny how they explain the former executives of those social media companies. They explain how the main role is to distract us and to make sure that we continuously consume content that they put out there. So I think that obviously, I mean, we all like, we all, I think that the main lesson to be learned there is that, be wise with the use of your time and keep on using it to find, businesses, which I do. I found a lot of businesses on Instagram and Facebook and on LinkedIn that have served me, and that's very good. But at the same time, just be mindful of the time you spend on those social media outlets.
Yeah, there's a certain waste factor involved. You can really waste time very quickly and get, literally consume your day and get way off track from your focus. So it's something to be aware of and to take responsibility for, each of us individually.
Yeah.
And I think people are catching on, and to a large degree, people that I've talked to that they're saying, yeah, I really need to, not just go off in la la land. How many cat videos can you watch?
Exactly.
And in addition, this is very exciting because I love the charities that I work with and am involved with. My son had cerebral palsy, and so I'm very interested in the disabled community, and I'm on a board of directors in San Jose, California for disabled adults, and as well as another organization for disabled high school kids. So I'm very interested in that. I have a passion because of my experience of having a special little boy that was a sweet little kid, and he only lived about 5 years and passed away on Easter weekend, and his sister was born 3 days later, ironically enough. So that was some years ago, but now, I've got a bunch of grandkids now, and my children are all healthy. So that's wonderful. But what you are doing, Wisdom for Kids. Tell me about Wisdom for Kids. I like that.
Yeah, thank you. No, thank you. So basically, a business partner of mine and friend and his father and myself, a few years ago in 2017, we started basically Wisdom for Kids. It was created because of the idea that we have all been exposed throughout our lives with the very, very, privileged people, the people, the CEOs, the people that we would close the deals with. And at the same time, anywhere you go in Latin America, including Costa Rica, of course, anywhere you go, there's pockets of poverty. In Latin America alone, there are 81 million kids, 81. It's like 3 times Texas. 81 million kids are living under conditions of poverty. 22 million of them don't have drinking water at home, 22 million. Okay, so we decided to create Wisdom for Kids. And what we do is we help underprivileged kids in Latin America become entrepreneurs using the local resources. I think that, and it's very important, these last 3 words, using their local resources, because it's important to help everybody. It's important to help the people in the urban areas, in the suburban areas, but also people in the rural areas and in the indigenous communities. And depending on where you go, the levels of poverty is different. Actually, the further out you go from cities, from towns, the more poverty there is. And the maximum, the peak is with indigenous communities. I mean, they have like a 95% of the kids in the indigenous communities live under the threshold of poverty. And that's like really crazy. So we launched it after a couple of years having, a very thorough, like, how to say this, we had a couple of PhD students working actually in the concept. How could we develop a workshop that we could impact the kids, and with every single activity that we would carry in any particular territory, that this web workshop would resonate with the kids and would stay with them. So after this time with those 2 kids, we spent almost a couple of years with that. We launched Wisdom for Kids, and so far we have helped more than 1,000 kids and their families to start a journey to entrepreneurship. Unfortunately, we had to stop last year, 2020, we had, given the restrictions, we had to stop all our activities, but we are sure that we will be able to be back on the road soon.
That is outstanding. And we have a similar concept at our schools that we've been building in Kenya for years amongst the Maasai tribe, is using their own resources. So we really have focused on using, even in building the little school campuses in these little villages, using local builders, local well diggers. They don't need us to come over there with our hammers and do all that stuff, and with a high unemployment rate, as well as some training for the women who have built beautiful co-ops, entrepreneur co-ops, creating things and getting these micro loans from the bank there. And it's amazing when that kind of thought process is offered and trained and shown to people.
Exactly.
There is a level of excitement that can happen among individuals where they can see, to a degree, the way out. But you hit it the nail on the head. I was just talking about hammers. You hit the nail on the head with local resources. I'm impressed with the entrepreneurial mindset of people that don't have water or electricity, but they all got cell phones.
Yeah, that unfortunately, yeah. I mean, that happens, and that shows you also. I mean, we're not there to fight, right? We're not there to fight against any culture, any habit,
right?
It's just what it is, and actually, it's a very important point for us, which is we're not disruptors. We just go there in order to support, in order to empower the people.
Yes,
and to empower the people that want to be empowered, because at the end of the day, we know that even though we developed, very powerful workshops, at the end of the day, also, it's the parents who are going to decide if this kid is going to do something, the parents or the tutors, right? Because depending on the type of community, unfortunately, the families are not, let's say, properly structured. So the kids don't have the proper support. And myself, I have myself been also involved in many different initiatives regarding special education kids. So I have encountered, and you probably have done the same thing, have experienced the same kind of situations that, special needs kids of,
yes.
of any origin,
right,
when they live under the threshold of poverty, their chances of succeeding are so remote. Really, it's like, so that's why there's a specific things. And we started to partner up with other kinds of nonprofits, so that they could actually bring additional support to the areas where we go. And I just, for instance, I remember I gathered a group of kids outside an indigenous community, and I started reading them a book in English. They loved the pictures. They couldn't read in English, but I translated it into Spanish. And one of the kids that was around was next to me. He had issues with his eyesight, so he couldn't read. And you could see him, yeah. And just with a surgery, that's in a matter of weeks, he could be completely healed. So I know that his future is unfortunately challenged and jeopardized because of the origin of his family, yeah. Right? And his mother was actually literally selling, ice cream or popsicles, more ice cream, popsicles outside a particular area that was from time to time visited by tourists. So, it's extremely important that we bring awareness to what's going on in these areas, in these territories, because other people can actually help and partner up with us and do much more, so much more.
Outstanding. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
How can I help you, Angel? How can I help you? Is there a website that I can refer to connect you? What can we do for you today?
Yes, absolutely. The easiest way, I always try to only give like one next step, so it makes things much easier. I'm going to share my direct email address also, because it's not only like supervised by me, but also by my team, so we don't miss any message. And it's very simple. My first name is Angel, Angel. My last name is Ribo. It's 4 letters, R-I-B as in boy, O. And my email address is angel@angelribo, altogether, angelribo.com. If you write me an email there, I will be able to, direct you to do whatever you would like to do with Wisdom for Kids or with my own consulting business.
Perfect. I love simplicity. Although for some reason I have 4 email addresses. I don't know what's wrong with me. Angel@angelribo.com. That's RIBO. And also as you may or may not be aware, I always ask this question because I do. And that is, I know you did the fish thing, the trout ponds. What was the very, very first job you did when you were a kid? Anything at all?
I think, I mean, of really the first, yeah. I mean, besides the boxing rainbow trouts,
Yeah.
on those white boxes, so you could and pour ice on top of them so they could be sent to the local market. That was quite an experience, and I still remember how much I was being given for every single box I was boxing. That's funny. And the coding, probably after that was already when I went to college. Actually, I started to work, in Europe or in Spain particularly, things are not as structured as here in the US. So to get a job while working, it's very difficult. And I was able to actually, through a friend, to get a job in the same school, in the same computer engineering school. So I was always working at the same time. And there, what I was doing, and you will remember those old, programming, all those like Office applications, WordPerfect. Do you remember WordPerfect?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember Lotus 1-2-3?
Oh, yes. And DOS, DOS,
exactly.
Disk operating system.
So I was the guru in that particular university. And in my school, I was the guru of WordPerfect.
Oh,
and
wow.
I remember I gave literally over 100, trainings to the administrative staff of the university. So I had a lot of fun. I mean, I think I've always wanted to, for money or without money, but I've always wanted to serve, and I've always wanted to like be a little bit ahead of my own game. So that's a great question, because typically we not always think about how to generate wealth, and also how to sharpen your own pencil, right? How to sharpen your own tools. So right. you systematically make, growth when you are a kid. Right now, it's a little bit different. For instance, typically I like to have my kid listen to my podcast interviews. I like to have my kid listen into my business calls. So, and again, maybe trying to follow the same model that I follow with my dad. My business is different to what my dad used to be, but still, I think that kids today need leadership. They need leadership. They need to be out of the streets. They need to be out of drugs and many other things that are happening in our world, unfortunately, today. And I'm sure that you have seen a lot of that while you were still in the US, in California, and unfortunately. So I'm very sensitive about that too. So again, I think that the earlier we can give certain responsibility levels to our kids, I think it's a great thing to do.
Well said. Well said. My mind was whirring there, thinking about passing on oral tradition, training, and giving your kids a head start, really. Like the credit card commercial, priceless.
Exactly.
Some things, regardless of data, some things cannot be measured, and that is one of them.
Totally.
Angel Ribo, my guest, thank you so much for being with me today. A real treat for me personally, and great to get to know you. I'm sure that we will connect again and maybe do some we will do some great things together in the future for the benefit of all, and just keep on passing along what needs to happen, what our gift is and what we're able to do, and be just a cog in the wheel if that's what it takes. But appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Count on me, Dave. Anytime. Thank you.
Thanks.